For many families, one of the family treasures may very well be the family nativity scene. Some of these nativity scenes perhaps have been handed on from one generation to the next. For some, there's some story or family tradition that surrounds the family nativity scene. When my grandmother immigrated from Ireland, the only possession she brought with her besides the necessities was a nativity scene, and that became our family's treasure. And there's nothing more wonderful during the holidays to get would be her great-grandchildren to tell them, remind them again about the story of their great-grandmother. St. Francis of Assisi was the one who began the popular piety of creating nativity scenes. And he did this for two reasons. One is, the early church, even as late as the 8th century, there was so much focus on the resurrection that there wasn't a lot of attention to the circumstances that surrounded the birth of Jesus. He also wanted to portray as graphically as possible the way Jesus was born into the world. The birth of Jesus was the ultimate act of grace, of God being born into history. But from the get-go, Jesus was surrounded with struggles and challenges. You think about the journey of Joseph and Mary from Nazareth to Bethlehem to fulfill the order of the emperor to be registered. The distance between Bethlehem and Nazareth is 90 miles, much of it through desert. And because of Mary's condition, it's unlikely she would have been able to ride a donkey. So that was quite a journey. And then when she finally gets to Bethlehem, they're basically living with the livestock as she came to term and her baby was born. And then, of course, shortly after his birth, they have to flee to Egypt because of Herod's order to kill all the baby boys. There was no accident that Jesus' life was marked with struggle and challenge, as well as many graces and blessings. And we temper some of the great joy of Christmas with the reality of that part of the reality of Jesus' birth and life was also suffering and hardship. And it's important for us to keep that in front of us. And today, we, in a special way, reach out to members of our faith community who have experienced the loss of a child. There are many losses we all face in the course of life. One of the most painful losses is the loss of a child. And at this time of the year, that loss can be intensified and heightened as so much energy surrounds the birth of the infant Jesus. And today, the scriptures invite us to open our hearts to the power of God's love for us, his promise of hope, his desire to walk with us. For not even God the Father, the creator of all that is, was spared the loss of a child, his only begotten Son. This past Christmas Eve, the Pope presided over one of the most ancient rituals that takes place at the Vatican, the beginning of a Holy Year, a tradition that goes back to the 12th century. There are 4 great doors that lead into the basilica, and one of them is called the Sancta Porta, the Holy Door. And this door is, for the most part, always closed. It's only opened every 25 years to observe the Holy Year. And as the Pope pushed open that door, we begin this special journey. And the Pope has chosen for this Holy Year the theme, Pilgrims of Hope. He reflects on this because of the suffering going on in the world right now. Countries torn apart by war, still unrelenting poverty that plagues most of the world, violence and persecution, hunger and starvation, many assaults to the dignity of human life. And the fear is always that we might give way to despair in the midst of such suffering. But the Holy Year reminds us that the Christian gospel is based on the promise of hope, that ultimately God does not abandon us but walks with us. God does not rise above the suffering, but walks with us in our suffering. And today we recall that great love of the Lord that is poured upon those who carry the sense of loss in their hearts as the result of the death of a child. We can find great comfort in the words that Jesus says in the Gospel of Matthew, "Do not hinder them. Let the little children come to me." Ultimately, our children, all those who die, all those who experience loss, are united with the Lord in his kingdom of peace. And today we recall the memories of each of these children. No matter what the circumstances of their death, how long they lived, we recall their names, the impact that they have had on us. We celebrate what we have with their memories and their witness, what they call us to be and what they call us to become. And so as we celebrate this challenging feast day in the midst of the season of Christmas, we think about those words in the first reading, that Jesus Christ is about light, light that shines in darkness. And that's a nice thing to say. But when you're dealing with the darkness of grief, it can be almost impossible, we might feel, to ever see the light again. But to shut that door would be to reject the love of God, who seeks to bring light in our brokenness and in our sense of sadness and grief, to console us with the hope and promise of his eternal love for us, and that we all ultimately are pilgrims on our way ultimately to union with God himself. For some of us, that pilgrimage will be many years, and for some, their journey was just in the womb. For others, their death came at different points along that pilgrimage of life. But wherever it happens, we are welcomed into the embrace of the Good Shepherd and the one who loves. Let us pray that the light will shine in the hearts of those who feel darkness this morning. I pray for all of you gathering here. We have several parents with us this morning who have lost a child, and there are many watching us on the virtual world. Wherever we are, may God's peace be in our hearts as we acknowledge Jesus Christ as the Prince of Peace, the light of the world.
Thank you for joining us today. Our digital ministry provides a valuable service to parishioners and visitors alike. Daily and Sunday Mass, funerals, weddings, and fireside chats, among other things, can be seen locally, throughout the country, and even the world, in real time or at one's convenience. If you would like to support this effort, please go to olphglenview.org. Click on the gold Donate button and then the Sunday Giving icon to make a contribution on our secure online giving portal. We sincerely appreciate your past and ongoing support. Thank you for helping us continue this ministry. God bless.